What I realize now, looking back, I'm like, oh wow, the journey to now has been finding what makes you come alive. And if you can do that, if you can help young men do that, and say, what are you excited about? What gives you joy? What would get you up every morning?
I'm kind of lost track of what episode we're at. I think we're episode 8, which is really exciting. I have a really exciting guest. We have Ashanti Branch. He's a leading voice in youth mental health and education reform with over 20 years of experience helping schools become safer, more connected communities. As the founder and executive director of the Ever Forward Club, he supports marginalized students through mentorship and teacher development focused on social emotional learning. 2023 recipient of the U.S. Surgeon General's Medallion, the highest civilian honor from the Surgeon General. Ashanti is also a Fulbright Fellow, 4 times TEDx speaker, 1 time Under the Hood Talk speaker, and nationally recognized keynote presenter.
Glad to be here. Thank you. I always have to I'm learning how to take in the bio, right? I mean,
It's a big bio.
we wrote it, right? But it sometimes feels like it's the highlight reel.
Mm-hmm.
And I live in the behind the scenes story mostly. And I mostly don't often see the highlights. There's moments like this where somebody's reading it and I'm like, uh-oh, right? Because it seems if I'm like trying to be as honest as I can, it feels awkward because there's a whole lot of failures in between those little milestones, you know?
Yeah. And you've been doing this a long time. And in that space, there's all the day-to-day,
right.
Small wins, small losses. And when you pack it into 4 sentences, it's not reflective of the reality. There are those huge, huge wins, but I guess let's go in there then. What is the day-to-day work like for you? What are your priorities at Ever Forward Club?
Yeah, so right now we're about to hit a milestone in the Million Mask movement. So Ever Forward Club, we do the mentoring work with young people. Our program shifted tremendously since COVID. So 2020, we were in schools doing breakout sessions with young men, after school programs. When COVID happened, everything moved online, which kind of shifted a lot of it. And it shifted how we were going to move into the next season because the Million Mask movement was kind of rebirthed in that season, our online campaign. And so day to day, it's okay, how can we make sure that we are connecting? We're trying to figure out how to get people out in the world, basically through social media, which is hard because you're asking people to do something. You're not asking them just to watch passively. You're asking them to take a minute, go to the website, millionmask.org, right? Make a mask, reflect on it, and then maybe share it with somebody, right? They don't have to do any of that, but we know that to ask them to leave if they're in a scroll roll is difficult. So it's what are we doing? What do we need to be doing better? We're not a marketing agency. We're not a sales agency, but you have to market the work.
Mm-hmm.
You have to sell a vision. You have to help people see how it's going to help them. So constantly the work is how do we as an organization do that? Now, we have a goal of reaching 1 million people. That's going to take a while. But
tell us about the Million Mask movement. What is that for the people who don't know?
So in 2015, we were featured in a documentary called The Mask You Live In. In that documentary, we did an activity with some young men in Oakland. Actually, it was my alma mater, Fremont High School. And it was about, I had been doing all the work I could to really help these young men build community with each other, but they were resistant, very good resistant, fight. They would rather start a fight in our session than to talk about their feelings. Anytime they felt the lesson was about to hit some emotions, somebody's going to make fun of somebody's shoes, somebody's going to cap on somebody, and all it takes is that one, and then now he's arguing, they're arguing, and now we got an argument to deal with because they felt they were about to go somewhere around emotions, and they had very good repellent for emotions. And because they fought against it, I was like, well, when they asked us to be a part of this documentary, I said, well, listen, I got a group of amazing young men at this school I'm at, but they don't talk about feelings. So you should go to our other club that's doing actually amazing. We got youth leaders. They're having deep conversations every week. And they were like, well, we want to see where you are. I said, well, you're going to see resistance because I've tried all my best stuff and it's not working. And so when they came, The idea of the activity was, what if I just don't make them talk about it? What if I just let them write it? Give me 3 words. And I think in the documentary, I don't even say 3 words. I say, on the front, I give them a picture of a mask. Tell me the things that you let people see about you. What are the qualities about yourself you let people see? And then turn the paper over, and then on the back, what are the things you don't let people see? Now, from that documentary, from that piece, I mean, when that thing worked, I was mind blown. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, they're in a solemn space, because all I'm used to them doing is picking fights with each other because they are so afraid of it. But when they realized, after we we just threw pieces of paper at each other. When they opened a piece of paper that wasn't theirs, they realized, like, these are my words. Like anger, sadness, the things they're not talking about. They're bottling them up, but they're coming out. They're just coming out sideways. Are you dealing with sadness? Or it's coming out as anger because you've now covered it up with another emotion, right? Or you don't show anger because you're angry about these things that happen in your life and the traumatic situations you've been through, but you don't show it. So what happens is it waits till it hits a breaking point and then it explodes. And so when that activity worked, I realized that we were on to something, and we started just doing the workshops. We started testing it out in different audiences with teachers, with educators, with parents, with young people. And then in 2017, we created it was called the 100,000 Mask Challenge. That was the original plan. The original plan was 1 million, but when I took it to my team, they were afraid. Like, they were like, their fear activated my old fear, because I was like, how are we going to get it to 1 million? But it sounded good. It had a good roll to it, Million Mask Movement. And that's how it happened. So and I started with 100,000. Okay, we can get to 100,000. And I think that I let the dream until 2020. So 2017 to 2020, we were under the name 100,000 Mask Challenge. And one of my mentors really helped me really pull it back. It was like, your fear was already in there, but you let their fear activate your fear, and then you just took the dream down a notch. And you're like, oh, and when I really had somebody help me point out, where my fear comes in, it was so powerful. And so that's been the movement, and we have a long way to go. We're close to 100,000. We actually been getting close to, you can get close to 100,000 for a long time, right? We've been close, right? If you round up, we're at 100,000, right? To the nearest 10,000, right? But if you're looking at the ones, it's every mask matters, right? So we're on a big vision, right? So we're close. We're about 13,000 away from hitting that goal.
Right.
And I think my goal is to hit it in the this quarter. Like, well, where are we at? We're in, I don't know what month I'm in. Is that September?
Yeah.
So we're looking to hit it soon. And I think that for me, it's not the number. I like numbers. I'm a math guy. I love alliterations with math and numbers. But more so, it's like, how many people can we reach?
Yeah.
Now, we've served way more than 100,000 people through our work, but everyone didn't turn in a mask. Everyone didn't complete the task, and that's okay. I want to be able to show the numbers, right? That this is like, we can physically show it. I don't want to be like, oh yeah, I've served 100,000 people. Like, how do you know? Well, I just believe it, right? Like, we live in a world where it's like, show me, right? So here's the numbers. In my office, here's thousands and thousands of masks. Online, here are thousands and thousands of masks. And so it's a vision, right?
Yeah.
But it's more about helping people. For me, it's not a number. It's not a mask. It's a person that said, I'm going to share 3 words with you. Things I let people see. I'm going to share things I don't usually let people see. So all the cards are anonymous, so we don't know who they come from. But we have masks from over 100 countries.
Wow.
We've engaged people around the world, and that feels good, When I get stuck in the numbers, we're so far away. And I feel sometimes that's when the bio comes up, I'm like, yeah, but I'm so far away from this goal that I have. I feel like I'm failing every day because it's going slow. And I realize if I take my time and just, okay, get a little bit more closer to the situation, man, that's over 80,000 people who have said, I'll share my truth with you.
Yeah.
And that feels good,
Yeah. Well, that's such a cool way to kick this off. I think it ties back to we were talking about initially, like the day-to-day grind of the small wins, small losses, and then leading up to the big wins. And there's the concept of the mask that once it's done, it feels so simple. Like, but that's how a key unlock looks. Trying and trying and trying so many different things for years and coming up with the resistance and repellent, and then something clicks. And the click only looks easy after it clicks, and it comes through the trial and error, and like the grit and the grind and the intention and the passion to keep pushing for that.
That's right.
And that's exactly one of the goals for the Under the Hood Talk podcast, is to spark those moments of questioning, those introspection, the reflection, which is kind of like what the concept of the mask inspires. It gives, especially young men, the opportunity through the exercise to just look inwards and just conceptualize this idea of the mask and to think about it. And so prompting those moments is super valuable, like on that one-to-one basis, and then you add it all up, it gets even bigger. So I would challenge the audience, and we'll link all your resources to check out Ever Forward Club, check out the mask movement, go through the exercise, see how it feels for you, and we'll get some more masks on that number.
Thank you. I think for a lot of people, when they make a mask, it's that idea of, some people are like, oh, that's tough. Like, I mean, we're only asking you to write 6 words. Draw a little picture, write 6 words. And you imagine when I go to certain schools, I'm like, all of you, this is a very simple task. 1 picture, 6 words. Mm. But simple doesn't mean easy. Simple means you all have written hundreds or thousands of words in your life. You know 6 words, so you could write 6 words. But when you get to the question of asking you to think about yourself, I'm asking you to be introspective, right? And that's for some young people. Definitely, I mean, I've seen it happen with adults too. Like, whoa. Like, you're like, oh, I could have, when after we've done the activity and the mix-up of cards happen, or we do a readout of a sample set of cards, people will say, oh, wow, I didn't realize that people in here were going through these kind of things. Yeah. I thought it was just me. Or, man, I thought everybody in here was perfect. Like, how is it this is really, I could have gone deeper actually on my card. I didn't realize people were going to go so deep. So I just kept it lightweight. I didn't know what was going to happen next, right? So they go through all these filters as they're thinking about what is he asking me to write, or whoever the facilitator is, what are they asking me to write, and what are they going to, they're going to know it's me. So I better not write real stuff, or I better not write real stuff. I'll write some real stuff, but not too deep. And I think it's that idea that, man, we're all human. We're all going through something, And I think what I've invited people to do even more recently is, once I can get clear that I'm wearing a mask, then when I'm engaging with somebody who is either irritating me, frustrating me, or even maybe being too nice in a moment where I'm like, what's going on here? Like, what am I missing? Because there's so much happening behind the mask, And if we can give ourselves a little grace to say, oh, you know what? I wear this mask. I don't wear it to deceive people. I wear it because I don't think they can really handle what I'm really going through. I don't think they really care about all the drama that's in my life. So I've learned just that I'm good. I'm fine. I'm cool. I'm okay. I'm great.
Yeah.
I'm great. I'm good in you. I'm great in you. I'm fine in you. Keep it simple. Keep it easy. Keep it frictionless. And when you create friction in it, then people are like, oh. So now when people ask me how I'm doing, I'm in text, I'm like, oh boy, am I gonna lie here? Is this person really asking? I filter those myself, right? I'm like, oh, they're not really asking. It's a text. So I'm like, hey, in this moment, texting with you right now, I'm doing okay. If you ever want to talk deeper about what's really happening, we can make time for that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a long text. I mean, I could just say okay. Mm-hmm. But to make a caveat for the text, the okay is like, I can say I'm fine. But and so people, when they ask me how you're doing, what I've learned also in text messages, and this is interesting about text, right? Because I'm doing a lot of young people. I hope you're fine. Well, I better be fine then. I hope you're well. Well, I guess I better be well, And it's like, thank you for the hope, but it's not going well, right? Thank you for the wish. I'm not doing fine. And you're like, oh, do I break their belief in this moment? How much can they really handle if they really sent you a text that says, I hope you're doing well.
Yeah.
I hope this season finds you happy and healthy. Well, should I tell you that I got arthritis in my hips and I feel pain all the time? You don't want to hear that. You want to hear me feeling happy and healthy. So how do I have healthy conversation with people who actually care, and knowing that everyone doesn't deserve to hear or need to hear?
Yeah.
So, but also not to deceive, not to be like, yeah, everything is great. And there's a dance between that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Between not wanting to be a downer and wanting to have authentic conversation with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there's definitely some social fluency, some emotional intelligence that comes with knowing the time and the place to have that conversation. And I've talked about this a bit with like the developing deeper male friendships. It's kind of like doing some search and some prompting for like, all right, which one of my friends in my network is actually down for this? Like, who actually wants to hang out and catch up and just talk? And maybe it's just not the lighthearted, like activity-based thing. But you also can't walk up to every single person and dump everything you got on them. So I really like the way you phrase it. It's like, someone asks you how you're doing, you can just say good, but you can also add the little extra like, but if you want to catch up and talk deeper, like I got some other things going on. And so it's like, it kind of gives the option for both. You can kind of see who's down to connect more.
Right.
But I think the initial prompt for the existence of the mask is helpful to even get you to that path. Where oh, there goes my phone.
Yep.
I'm curious just because we focus so much on young men, and this concept of the mask it's probably like intuitive, and like I think some guys can feel the mask coming off in various circumstances. What are some of the masks that you see? Like what are trends you see? What's on the front? What's on the back? Obviously without sharing like specifics, but I'm curious, like what are you seeing in young men today?
Yeah, no, I love the specifics. I think they're all anonymous, so we don't know who they belong to anyway. But I think if I'm thinking about analysis of what we're seeing, the words are very honest. I've even seen a lot of young men actually write sentences and not just words, which is really beautiful, right? In the early days, it was just they just want to get it done, right? And I've seen more and more introspection, like I'm feeling this thing, right? I don't let people see that I'm worried about this thing. I don't let people see that I'm carrying this grief or that I had one young man in a workshop. He was I don't let people see that I'm really concerned that I'm 13 and I'm already balding, right? Like imagine a 13-year-old who notices or senses maybe it feels a little, I don't know what he feels, right? But he feels this idea of like my hair is thinning in this area, right? Like I'm only 13. And then thinking about what you've seen and what jokes you've heard about men who are balding and what jokes they make about balding men and what are you going to do to fix it and what does that mean about your prospects of meeting a girl or whatever, like, and all the things that he wrote in that one little sentence, right? You could just feel it, right? You can almost feel it. Like it was a simple sentence. It was a 13-year-old boy, but him like naming this thing that, who do you talk about it with? Yeah. Who do you talk about it with that my hair is thinning, I'm 13, what does that mean for my future in the next 5, 10, 20 years, right? And so just feeling like when young men get a chance to like take a breath. I think here's what we often see. On the front, the top words we often see are funny, happy, athletic, right? Kind, charismatic. Those are some general words we see, right? And most teenagers don't use charismatic, but they'll just say, funny or right, or I'm an actor, right? I'm a jokester, right? Some things like that. The back are high level words we see: fear, anger, sadness, anxiety, like worry, stress. And what we do is so far in the work we have not changed. There's open ended, so they can write whatever word they want. So if on the back someone's writing sad, there's also going to be sadness. There's also going to be, I don't talk about feeling bad about certain things, right? Like, so there's words that you could say, okay, those all represent sadness, but we let them use the words that come up for them. So we don't have to box them into anything, right? And it's been really beautiful just hearing the ways that they describe it. So I think there's a lot of those that are frequent. One research we did, that's all the research, we just compared two different schools, one public school and one private school. And what we saw is that if you saw kids who paid $60,000 per year, you would think they had. I mean, if you were not naive, you would say, "Oh, those kids got it all going on. They have nothing to worry about." And those kids in the public school who pay nothing and maybe barely are navigating the wellness charts, you would say, "Man, there's a very big difference in those students." But what we saw in the data in that comparison of those two schools, 10th graders in both schools, the words were so similar.
Yeah.
The words were so similar. Funny, athletic, happy on the outside, fear, sadness, worry, stress on the back. I think the private school probably had more stress than the other one, but I think when we looked at the numbers, you were just like, oh, wow. And it's very telling, right? Because if we're looking at socioeconomic, you say, well, those kids don't have nothing to worry about. Their parents got $60,000 to pay for their high school education per year. That's $240,000 just for your high school education. What you got to worry about? Well, like that would be the part where you would get fooled by thinking that having money makes happy. Now, as a poor boy in Oakland, I thought that's what was going to make me happy. So I went to be an engineer to make a lot of money. And then I started making money, and I'm like, something is like, you should be a teacher. I'm like, teachers can't make money? What are you talking about? Where's this new dream coming from, right? This new vision coming from. But I had to feel it. I had to experience it to say, oh, yeah, I've experienced what it means. Now, that doesn't mean I don't want to make money, but it means, oh, I've learned that by example. Not somebody telling me. This is somebody who's never made money to say, money doesn't make you happy. You're like, let me try. Let me test it out. Let me have the experience. Let me experiment in the process. You know what I'm saying? Like it might not buy happiness, but it will fund it'll fund the experience. You know what I'm saying? I'll do experiment. Let me experiment. But what I realize now, looking back, I'm like, oh wow, the journey to now has been finding what makes you come alive. And if you can do that, if you can help young men do that and say, what are you excited about? What gives you joy? What will get you up every morning? Now, some kids want to do things that are not going to maybe, their parents will say, that doesn't make you any money. But, well, let's figure out how we figure the money part out in addition to being in the joy, right? Like, oh, if I want to do it on the side, I need to have a job. So I think what we see in young people is like their hunger for being able to talk about these difficult topics and knowing that they're not alone. And knowing that other young men want to talk about it, but they're all been taught that, no, you got to keep that mask on because people make fun of you and they'll shame you. And so what we continue to see with words and masks is young people are like, yeah, I feel alone too. I feel isolated. I feel worried. And so our work with the mask has been, how can we share the story out? That's what we're trying to do better about. How do we share the stories out there that are anonymous so that it gets people's attention to say, oh, you know what? I'm going to make my mask too. And I think that's something that we're trying to figure out in this season is like, okay, we have 86,000 stories on these cards. How are we sharing those stories? And we're probably not doing it justice yet by the beautiful mask we have. So we're in that first stage right now of like, okay, how do we begin sharing more of these out with the world?
Yeah, I think that study you did is really interesting. I think it makes sense. Like if you're a teenager, you're not really internalizing the fact that like, oh, this amount of money was paid for my high school. You're in that context, middle school, high school, like it's such a human environment. You're internalizing, I have a bully, or I look like this and I don't want to look like this. I feel stupid in this class. I don't know. Whatever it may be, like that is very context specific and it's very immediate. And so I think especially as a teenager, it makes sense that mask is such a human element for like how people interact, like socially, and then compared to how they feel individually. I'm wondering, are there moments of realization when you're introducing this concept where people have to confront the fact that they have the mask, where they struggle with like, oh, if like this, I thought this was me and now I'm not so sure. Have you seen any moments of realization like that?
Yeah, lots of them. I think It usually happens like when they're getting ready to make the mask. It all depends on the person, right? If the person is one of these characters who are like, I don't want no mask. I tell everyone everything. And I'm like, okay. And in a workshop setting, my job is to, I leave it open, right? If I'm like walking around and somebody's like, I see their card blank. I'm like, hey, can you go ahead and finish? Oh, I don't know what to write. I'm like, well, what are the things you don't talk about? Well, I'll talk about anything. I'm like, but do you talk about it regularly? And they're like, it's not like one thing that you keep to yourself that you don't talk about much, right? And then they're like, I say, okay, I'll let you think about it. Sometimes I've had people say, I've had adults say, I had a teacher once say, I don't have a mask. I'm a pretty open book. And in my mind, I wanted, like, it was two parts of me. It was like the intellectual in me wanted to like give some examples. And the other part of me was like, hey, I trust that you know yourself enough to know. And that teacher, male educator, and male educators there's very few. And he was maybe one of two men in the room, maybe three, right? So there's not a lot of male educators. So when he said that, it was like, he said it kind of, I mean, everyone was doing their own individual mask, but he called me over and he's like, I don't know what to write on this. And I said, okay. But when we got to the part when we shared out the masks, he said, oh, I realized that there's so many of these words I could have wrote, but I didn't think that we were going that deep. So he had blocked off, okay, we're not going deep on this, so therefore I'm only going to put the things that I always talk about. So therefore I think I'm an open book, but actually I don't talk about half the things I'm dealing with or thinking about. And I think that's not only what we see with adults, but we see it with teens as well. And so they're worried about like, I'm an open book. I don't got nothing. Now, I know for young men, because I've been working and mentoring them for a lot of years, like I know that if we know each other really well, when I ask you a hard question and you freeze up, like you're filtering that question, your answer through so many things. Like, if I tell him this about myself, is he gonna like judge me? Is he gonna leave? Is he gonna not be my mentor anymore? And so I've had young men who have like just not told the full truth, right?
Yeah.
They'll tell you the story that they want you to hear or that they think you will be able to stand. And then 5 years later, you line in line and say, oh, remember that time, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I didn't want to tell you. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I appreciate the honesty now.
Yeah.
And you try and help them understand that our connection is only as deep as what we know of each other, right? Mm-hmm. One of my mentors said to me once, he said, Ashanti, who fully knows you? Who fully knows you? I'm like, nobody. Nobody. Like, they know what every grouping I'm a part of, they know what they need to know, but fully know me? Like, no one. And he said, is it possible, his second question was, is it possible to be fully loved if you're not fully known? Man, that hit me like a brick, right? Like, okay. So I'm creating the image for people because I'm letting them get what I think they can handle, right? And I think even with those close male friendships I have, you test the water. You like, how much can they handle of my brokenness, right? Of my shortcomings, right? Of my addictions, of like how much can they handle? So let's just not talk about it. Let's just have, and so I have some group texts where I'm sometimes annoyed with some of my group text message groups. Because it's a bunch of fun talk.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so then I feel bad if somebody just said, oh, I just came back from Hawaii with my family. We just did this thing. I feel bad coming in saying, man, I just friggin', I'm locked into this addiction to food and I just friggin' mowed through a whole pie. And I'm feeling really disappointed in myself, you know? That, to not have a place sometimes to unload some of those things feels like you're alone, but you're not alone. You got I got all these different WhatsApp groups, and yet when I go in there, I'm trying to like put on a show.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think sometimes that when people say people feel lonely, I get it. I'm around people all the time in my work, but when I'm like at the end of the day, where do I get to go and just be feel it fully known?
Yeah.
So it may be self-directed. It may be self-inflicted. It may be not that those groups ever say, don't talk about real stuff here. It's just, if you scroll up, the history says we talk about positive stuff here. So therefore, you feel like you're conforming as opposed to like, sometimes I have to say, hey, I need a moment of real talk. So I'm just going to drop a load here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I need to let some stuff off my chest to let you know, read it when you got time, you know? No expectation. I don't need anything from you. I just need a place to let it go. And I've tried to do that in some spaces to like, just for my own sake, to not be pigeonholed into always just talking about the great parts that are happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you're hitting me with, let me repeat it back to you because you're hitting me with some big things here. To be known is to be loved is huge concept. That is, I want to reiterate that. To do an inventory check of who fully knows you is who fully loves you is really big. And I think there's a lot of different ways you could interpret that. I think step 0 would be like, only I fully know myself. So first you have to make sure you love yourself, right? If only you know yourself fully, only you can love yourself fully. So that's one way you could interpret it. I think the other way you could look at it is like, okay, with this knowledge of this starting point, how much can I share with the people around me? Because I want to share more to be loved more by the people around me. And I think that is the part. I mean, both are actionable, but if you check in with yourself and you're like, I love myself, I'm good, but I want to fill this hole, like that. The second piece of like the people around you who knows you and who loves you, that for sure we are all sorely lacking. And then the other thing you described was like being surrounded by people and being alone. And I think that's a really common place to be in today's world, especially for men, where a lot of being known is sharing things behind the mask. The things I'm wondering from there, like when things behind the mask are discussed, I think what's happening is there's more sharing, there's more vulnerability. Is there like a step 2 or connections that you see from these young men who kind of realize like, all right, maybe these guys are down to talk more about what's behind the mask? Like, is there a basis for like, hey, let's catch up later outside of Everford. Let's like, oh, he might be down to just like, or like we relate on the same thing we were struggling with like in our families. Like I want to talk to him about that. Like, do you see any like step 2s beyond like recognizing that, okay, there's things behind this mask and sharing them is actually helpful?
Yeah, and I've seen that in the early days. I saw it in the early days of Everforward. The young men who were the first members of Everforward is 21 years old now, right? So these men are like, they were 15, so they're like 36. They're fathers, they're homeowners, they're entrepreneurs. So seeing them and hearing, oh, we just came back from Vegas, we went to go hang out, like seeing some of the men who are now men, they were teens when we met, have a connection ongoing is a really beautiful win. I think when you're in school, like sometimes that dance of like, oh, we're getting to know each other and we're building this community. I've definitely seen some young men build some deeper connection with each other, right? And realize they have something in common with somebody who may not look anything like them. I've seen that. I've also seen just the awareness piece of young men coming together being like, wow, I didn't know it was possible as a man to show feelings and still be respected. And I think what we try and do and our facilitators are trying to do is we go first. Hey, I'm going to let you know. I'm not here to impress you. I'm not here to spill on you. I'm here to just say, as a man in this space with you, I know what it's like. And hopefully you can see that you don't have to try and have it all figured out either. When I was your age, here's what I went through. Here's what I went through last week. But when I was your age, here's what I went through. And I survived through it all. It didn't feel like it in the moment. And so I think like that's what ends up happening. I think a lot of the young men who give feedback about what they experienced, they heard the man in the room, the adult who has survived all those teen years to say, I'm gonna tell you what I was going through when I was your age, and I encourage you to not do it alone, right? Because imagine if you never knew somebody came along, if no one ever came and said, you know what, I see that you're going through something, but I got you. I can handle it. You can tell me about it if you want to. And if you don't want to tell me about it, it's okay. I'll be here anyway. And I think I've seen a lot of young men find their place to say, what if this person is making space for me? Like, I've had young men who would run away once they got too close because they think that it's better for me to run away than to risk that person running away. Mm. And so I've had young men want to start a fight with me. Physically, emotionally, verbally, they want to like curse at you. Like they know I don't do cursing. I don't curse at you. Don't curse at me. But they know that if you've gotten too close, they let you get to know them too close. Now they feel vulnerable and they feel like, oh, it's dangerous. And I'm like, you have nothing to worry about with me. You don't have to impress me. I'm not your peer here. I'm hopefully I'm a little further along in the journey than you, right? You don't have to impress me with anything. And so I think like just giving them room. What would it be like to know that I got room to be myself and this person didn't run away? They didn't run away scared. I tell them when I workshop, listen, I've been through a lot of tough stuff and I've sat with people who have gone through tough stuff. And I can handle it. I got you. Mm. Maybe you don't want to talk about it. It's okay. Whenever the time is right. And you're not expected to talk about it. You got to find the right people who you trust. And hopefully you find those people. But sometimes you're looking for it to come from people who you think you should be able to trust, family, like partners. And you're like, well, one young man said to me, and I'll never forget it. He's like, why are you there for me when my own family won't lift a finger? And I'm like, I don't have an answer for that. I can't tell you why. I can't tell you why the universe of all the billions of people on the planet brought your path by my path and we had a connection. And you are looking for all the reasons why there should not be. So either you don't trust me, and I'm not here to tell you to trust me. I'm not here to force it. Either you don't think that I'm trying to be as sincere as I can, or you're not being as sincere as you can. So what you decide, you're in charge of this relationship. All I can do is be here. I'm here when you're ready. And I think for young men, they're hungry for it. They're so hungry for it. But we have a society that tells them, "Oh, you shouldn't want these kind of close relationships now with a man, not with another man," because we're told them that it must be sexual. It must be something that makes you not a real man. And so the rules have caused young men to like fight away deep connections, right? When you're 7 and 5, yeah, you can have a best friend, but now you get to middle school and high school. Well, we don't often hear young men say, "Oh, my best friend." They may say it now. Now they say it. We hear it a lot more now. One of my best friends, right? One of my best friend, right? But there are those relationships when if you saw them on the outside, you would, you would be like, "That's your best friend? Why are y'all talking about each other so harshly?" Oh, that's just what we do. Because I got to protect that there's platonic, right? And so therefore, by the way I got to do it is I got to make fun of you, call you names, make you feel down. Like it's a bantering that happens that sometimes it feels almost like an enemy. Mm. And you're like, "Oh, that's your best friend? Oh, every time I'm misunderstood." And how do we do that? I think it just requires us to have more conversations about it, right? But imagine the rules of masculinity are cultural and communal, right? So if you have been told a certain set of rules about what it means to be a man, then you're going to follow those rules until if you're trying to fit into that box of what everybody's put you into.
Yeah. And the rules, yeah, it reminds me of Dr. Naomi Ways, who we had on recently about the secrets. And the rules don't reflect the reality. It's the young men and boys do want those close relationships. And around 14, 15, start feeling like they can't pursue those because of the rules. Yeah. Doesn't mean that innate need isn't still there. True. It's just cloaked in the banter and the performances that really can stunt those honest relationships and honest need. And I think it ties to back to a mask. It's like, if one of the things underneath the mask could be like, I I want a close friend who I can tell my secrets to. I mean, it's really goes back to that vulnerability, the sharing of I'm struggling in this way and I have to tell someone. I want that to doesn't need to be problem solved. I just want it to be seen.
Yeah.
Because it's a part of me.
That's right.
And I think it's such a key part of a friendship. And I think making a lot of it, I think can be improved with structure and space and clarity of like, okay, here we can share. And like you've done with people you've worked with, like you have opened up yourself without judgment, and whether or not they trust you or not, you are putting forward like, I'm here to listen, and whatever you say, I'm not going to judge. But it's you've checked in with yourself, and you're like, in this moment, I can share my availability. I'm ready to hear what you say. Like, I'm sure you have your boundaries were like, okay, you know what? I'm exhausted. Like today I gotta go home, and like you're just not there. But when you tell someone that you're there, you mean it.
That's right.
And you created a space where that's possible. And I think that is key, because that is the part that needs to become organic. More ever forward clubs, more under the hood talks, more communities, more connection, where people can show up. And yeah, it self-selects. Yeah, only people who hear about it, know about it, want to be there are going to be there. But you know what? That's okay for now. Yeah. Because it self-selects for like, I'm ready to share this or talk about this. And that's how a community starts. And then hopefully it gets bigger and more normalized.
They're hungry for it.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if you knew that there was a way to do that in a good way, right? Oh, it's normal to talk about that, my feelings, right? And you think about like how many young men have never been engaged in a conversation about how they're doing, how they feel. I mean, I've seen it. I've been on high school campuses, and I'm like, I remember one where I was going ready for a workshop. I was walking, we were following everybody. I'm just looking around, kind of observing the school. It's and there's one young man just standing there by himself. It's like this school has 2,000 kids. He's standing there by himself. Kids everywhere with all these little groups, by himself in the middle of the concrete, but like a classroom is behind him, the little grassy areas out here, and hundreds and thousands of people out here. I'm like, oh man, like he's not like he's just standing still, kind of like just in his own world, right? And so the group was like cutting off that way. And I was like, okay, I can see where they are. They're going to the cafeteria. I'm going to just go straight and I'm going to cut later. But I'm going to pass by and say hi, right? Just in my soul, right? No, I don't know this kid. And I walked by. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? How you doing? And he almost like shook. It was almost like you felt him like, huh? Like, huh? Like, I was like, how you doing today? Happy Tuesday. What is it? Whatever day today is, right? Happy Tuesday. He's like, can I give you a fist bump? He gave me a fist bump. And I said, have a good day. Now I recognize that I probably said how you're doing in a passing way, and he's maybe said fine or whatever. You know, I didn't ignore him. I gave room. But, you know, I think he wasn't expecting to be interrupted in his isolation. And maybe he had self-selected isolation, or maybe it wasn't. But all I know is that when I walked and saw all these groups together, I saw him by himself, not hidden in a corner, out in the open. And how often do people in clear sight get unseen, not seen? Mm-hmm. And I think that's where it gets really hard for young men, right? Because, I mean, I wasn't expecting to fix anything in that moment. I just knew that something in me said, go say hi. And what if more people just had that intuition? Just to say hi to someone. Hey, I don't claim that I don't know that young man. I don't know his name. I mean, we didn't have a long conversation. I was heading to a workshop, so I knew that I didn't really have a long time for a conversation, but I could do a small piece. Yeah. Right. And I think that's what, if we could get everybody doing that, you know, we have this November, we're doing a young men's conference, right? And this is our second year of it. And one of the things that we tried to do this year is we said, well, what if we encourage people around the world who have young men in their communities or young men they already support or young men they already work with to like do something for those young men on that day, November 8th, right? 2025. What if it would, and so we just said, well, let's just do it. Let's make it a global partnership. We'll give them some curriculum. We'll give them some tools. Because imagine how many people who are maybe want to support even their own family members more, but they don't know how. And they feel stuck and they feel like, I don't know what to do. I can't start a nonprofit. Don't. How about you just get those young men together for an hour, play some ball, do something fun, have some food, and have a conversation about these masks. And that's what we're hoping that on that day that more people will do something, right? Like, what if everyone just does a little bit of something? I mean, we see it around the world right now. Young men are in a very precarious and challenging place. And we think it's going to get better just by hoping it gets better. It's not. It's going to take those people who care and who's willing to sacrifice some time, some energy, and maybe some pizza to say, let's go have a conversation.
Yeah.
Let's go have some fun. And I'm trying to like get people. Well, I'm the one. I left an engineering career for this. I don't recommend it to people. You know what I'm saying? Like if you ask me, do I recommend you start a nonprofit? Don't do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not that we don't need them, but that choice is big. Yeah. I didn't know how big a choice it was, right? I thought I was actually coming to do this teaching thing for 2 years. I didn't know I was changing my whole career path. I thought I was doing like the Peace Corps. I was going to take 2 years out of my life, go teach in Oakland, and then go back to the money. And that didn't happen. So my invitation to people is like, yeah, well, how about you just do a little bit of something? Well, how about we give you some tools that we've tested over 21 years, and you use those tools with your nephew, your nephew's friend, and the kid down the street that you always say hi to. And then you say, hey, we're going to do something. We're going to partner with this organization. I'm just trying to keep it simple for folks, you know? And I think we could dramatically change how many young men would ever say again that I feel like there's nobody I can talk to.
Yeah.
If we just gave people tools to just do it, right? Because
Yeah.
some people think they have to just do it right.
Yeah.
And I'm just saying, how about you do something? You know?
Yeah. I think that structure is really important, like a curriculum and educating the people who interact with young men all the time. Like, and I know you do work with parents and teachers, and I think a big part of it is like your boy wants to talk about his feelings, and he doesn't just move on from those when he hits 13. Like he does, like to the dads, he doesn't want to just go to the football game and that's it. Like that's not all it takes. And to the teacher, it's like your boys aren't just like the funny troublemakers. Like talk to them, what's going on. And I think giving some education, some prompts to the facilitators, to the teachers, to the parents, just to break down what they see, which is just the mask.
That's right.
And let them know that there is those things behind the mask, and it's super, super important. Is like a really strong, organic way to do it more at scale. Because when you like you said when you're at the nonprofit and you're grinding like the one by one, like we gotta help this boy, then the next boy, like it's huge.
Yeah.
But to do it at like community scale, I love the idea of giving it a day, because I do think it needs structure. It's not going to happen on its own on an individual basis because of how strong the cultural influence are against this.
That's right.
And so chipping away with structure, like, okay, this room, this club, this space, this is for the guys to talk about their feelings.
That's right.
And again, like I said, it self-selects. Only people who are ready and down for it show up, but that's okay. And eventually, hopefully, the people who weren't as ready before, or who are on the cusp,
right,
maybe they can come along.
That's right.
And I think in the school context, it's really helpful to have the teachers on board to promote it. And a lot of it gets down to like the social level. Like if the cool teacher says it's cool and he or she garners some respect, then maybe like one of the cool kids will try it out and join that club. And then if the cool kid does it, then like, okay, if he's talking about his feelings and he's cool, then maybe I can. It really percolates down to that level in the school environment. And it's really finicky. It's not plug and play. It's not like software that you can install. You gotta have the cool kid at recess down for it, or else the kids don't care.
That's right.
They say it's stupid.
And it's a farmer mentality.
Yeah.
It's not the lottery mentality. It's a farmer. It's like I plant a seed and then I water it. I invite the young man to come hang out with us. He didn't come. And if every time I see him now I ignore him because he told me no, then I'm missing the fact that I already had a seed planted. Mm-hmm. Hey, you coming to one of our meetings? And that's how Ever Forward, when it first started, I invited young men all the time. Young men I see around campus, those who I would see up sitting around by themselves. I'm like, hey, Thursday we're having lunch. Come have lunch with us. I don't know. Okay, no worries. I see him again. Hey, Thursday, lunch, Portable 8, right? And sometimes it takes months. Sometimes it takes a year for a young man to finally show up into a meeting. And then they're like, oh, wow, y'all been here having this good food for a whole year. I could have, you missed out, but it's okay. You're here now, right? And how do you begin? It's a farmer mentality. I planted a seed. I watered it. I put a little fertilizer. Hey, I heard you did great in your other class over there. I heard you. I've been asking about you. I see you. Are you getting taller? Like, how do I keep adding value? I don't want anything from you. I'm just trying to invite you to a space that hopefully can add value to you, but it may not be for you. But come and see and then say, it's not for me. Anytime a young man decided they didn't want to be in Ever Forward anymore, I had a requirement. You got to come tell everyone. Because I don't want to force you to stay. But don't just disappear. Because if you do it like that here, where you say, you know what, I was a part of this, and now I don't want to be a part of this anymore, and I've learned the process to just walk away, when do you stop that? So I made it, it was a requirement that I made, but, if some young men decided they didn't want to follow the requirement, it's okay too. But if you want to leave, come and tell us why. And we're going to respect your answer. But be a man who who just says, if I quit something, I'm not going to just leave everybody hanging. I'm not going to just disappear and you don't know why I left. I leaving everyone else to make up a story about it, right? And I think that those are like small little things that you help plant seeds. And it's a seed with that young man that somebody cared about him enough to invite him to not just disappear. So to come and tell us where you're going. One young man was like, oh, I'm going to start a new club. I'm going to go, okay, great. One young man was like, yeah, I just don't feel like I want to do this anymore. And I was like, well, do you have a place to go to talk about how you're doing in life? Oh, not really. But I said, well, if you ever need it, you're always welcome to come back. Because what you want them to be able to recognize is that I tried it, It wasn't for me, and I'm moving on. Mm-hmm. I think and those are look, I imagine if you grew up in a family where you have a father who's teaching you these lessons, you learn them. But what if you didn't? Like, I didn't grow up with a father in the house, right? So I learned from other people in the community, sometimes bad lessons. And luckily, a few male teachers who really allowed me to look up to them and held a space in my life, One of my English, journalism teacher from high school wrote me a letter the other day. I just published a book, right? So, and he's like, hey, I just want to let you know, you're not a confused educator. He says, I think you understand the chaos and confusion of education very well. It was just so beautiful to hear from him, Mr. O.D., after all these years. He's the one who taught me how to develop film. I was a photo editor of the newspaper, and he taught me in the what do you call it, green room, dark room, in the dark room, how to do the film, how to put it in the chemicals, what chemicals not to get on your hands, like how long to leave it in, 30 seconds, 50 seconds, all that. He taught me how to develop film, right? Imagine that, right? That's an old process, right? But just to have I would have never learned that if it wasn't for him. There's nobody we take it to the store and take the roll of film to the store, they develop it and you get it back. But to learn how the film is made and, oh man, those are lessons I'll never forget. And I hope to leave students with experiences and examples that they, down the line, at least say, I'm going to pass it on to someone else. You don't owe me nothing. I didn't do it for you to give me anything. I just hope you pass it on and you pay it forward. Even if it's not for your own children, but for some other young people that you get to connect with.
Yeah, I think school is a good place where young boys can feel like nothing, where like they're being invested in um without like what's the word? I'm trying to without it's not them like they show up and they are being invested in, and it's not dependent on like who they are. And so, but I think that's kind of rare. Like I think in other places you have to qualify in certain circumstances to feel like this is just for me. It could be like you're paying for access to something, or people, or the people in the wherever you're joining only care about the output you can provide. And I think there aren't that many spaces where young boys can just show up as themselves without like what academic or sport output can you produce, which allows you to be here. And I think those spaces where it's like, I'm showing up as myself and that's the only value I'm bringing to this group, and that's enough to be accepted. Because you're not saying like I'm only letting in like the best athletes or the straight A students.
That's right.
You're valuing every boy who shows up just for themselves, their characteristics, their all their shortcomings and failings. And I think that's what's sorely lacking in our culture, is that we generally only reward and recognize boys for output. And that's a pretty cold impersonal relationship.
Yeah.
Because it's quantifiable.
Yep.
And it's not fulfilling for the individual, because it's not that that's the outside of the mask, is like I can perform these tasks, feats, and I'm rewarded, and that can feel good and is productive and can get you to meet other people, but it only works insofar as you can share about yourself to those people that those things bring you to.
Yeah.
So
or that you do. It's all about what you do, not about who you are.
Yeah.
Right. So you got when do you stop doing then?
Yeah.
Well, then you can't stop doing.
Yeah.
You can't ever rest. You can't take the foot off the gas. All gas, no brake. Right. And then how many men burn out and they're just wiped out, exhausted, but they feel like they can't stop. Right. Because everyone's looking at them never to stop.
Yeah.
That's it. Right.
Yeah.
That pressure of to saying, oh, I'm not. But who I am is not important enough. It's what I'm doing. Right?
Yeah.
Right? So imagine you get a student comes home, he has an A in English and a D in math. What are we talking about? Well, we're going to talk about the D in math. I mean, wait, we're going to talk about the A in English? No, we're going to talk about what you're good at. Talk about what you're struggling at. And how do you become like, it only matters what I do. And when I'm not doing good, then we're going to talk more about what I haven't done good.
Yeah. And then the conversation never even gets past, even if you're talking about the A or the D, no one's talking about like the social emotional learnings with the young boys. It's never like, are there any problems with you and your best friend that like you need my advice on? That the conversation does not happen. It's either like good job getting the A or work harder on the D, but those are like the measurable output characteristics. So I think having a space in schools or online where boys and men can show up just as like, this is who I am, this is what I'm interested in, and this is what I'm working on and struggling with. And that really gets to the core of like, who are you without your output? And it's hard to separate because it's so heavily reinforced. What do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, you want to be like a doctor? Okay, cool. Like you are medical student, doctor, lifesaver, smart person, earns money. Like you were all those things. And I mean, that I'm sure certain careers are like healthier mentally than others, but I think across the board, having people know you without just those characteristics feels good and is needed.
That's right. No, without a doubt. Without a doubt. And to know you're not alone.
Yeah.
Know that you're feeling this, other young men are feeling this, but if we make space to talk about it, then we can do some amazing things, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So long story short, I think creating those conversations in those communities is super important. It's why we're talking about it. It's why Everforward exists. I wish every school in the country had access, which would and you're working on with the day for young men and the curriculum, like spreading the good word,
right.
Giving the structure, hopefully planting the seed in that. All right, let's talk about this. Let's carve out some time and some resources for young boys to develop social emotional skills that aren't developed in the classroom, because
right.
you set them off in the world. And how do you handle a difficult friend situation when you only have the 3 words on the front of the mask?
Ooh.
That's just not a big enough range.
That's right. For real. Well, not only have the 3 words, you also have a understanding that there's more to me than people can see.
Yeah.
And so therefore, if I know there's more to me than people can see, then I should probably realize that there's more to them than I can see.
Yeah.
I judge myself a little less harsh. I judge others less harsh. I get more curious.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe people get curious and ask me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good call to action to, like, once you do the exercise, either bring someone else in to see how, if you can think of someone who would be interested in it, or to try and perceive others around you as like, okay, this could be a mask layer, and like maybe I don't need to be triggered by this like irritable outbursts. Like that could be an external layer, and kind of give some grace to, okay, like the mask is on in this context, and I'll allow that to be. Or like with this friend, I think we can talk honestly and deeply without the mask on, and like let's build it deeper with that friend. Maybe you can't do that with 20 friends, but maybe you could do it with 1 or 2.
That's right.
And I can almost guarantee those friends will get closer, and everyone wants closer friends. So
that's it.
Well, we're coming up on time. I just want to check in if there's anything we didn't cover, any messages you want to share to the Under the Hood community. Where can people find you?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for this conversation. I mean, I imagine we could go for hours, right? I've heard seen podcasts where like there's no way to talk for 3 hours, right? And I realized, oh yeah, I could, because the conversation is just it's at work. So, everforwardclub.org is our organization. They can find us anywhere on social media at Everforward The Million Mask Movement is a global campaign, so millionmask.org is the website for that. And we're hopefully engaging more people. The tools are free to use, so we invite people to use them. We invite people to do. They make them digitally. The masks are already in the site, but they get a database there for them. And so yeah, please reach out if you have any questions. If you have any needs, and however we can support you as an educator, as a principal, as a school, as a district. We believe that if we do the proactive work, it makes the reactive work easier to do, because it's not brand new that we're talking about these topics, right? So that's our work. And so thanks for having us. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here with you.
I appreciate this so much. And yeah, it's a great call to action. If you're a parent, educator, and you think like, hey, this is cool. I want to see maybe if my classroom or my kid's school could use resources like this, like, or I think this could be a cool dinner table conversation. Like, what do my kids think about this? Like, is the concept of the mask interesting, worthwhile, thought-provoking? Like, well, yeah, does my 12-year-old already feel that they need this mask? And like, let's talk about it, because if you don't, it's going to be there whether you talk about it or not. And it'd be better to have an understanding of it, as opposed to never acknowledging it. So I really appreciate you sharing the insights with our audience. Excited to see what people talk about, think about it. Excited to share your work with everyone. So that's a wrap.
Good to be with you.